What's up, everybody? It's your favorite guy who prioritizes things over dying tonight's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the X-Transbots Springer. It's called like Virtue. I don't know, dude. It's Springer, right? Let's talk about him. This is on loan to me from Robert D. I do appreciate the opportunity to take a look at it. We will do a versus of this with Fans Toys at some point, but as of right now, we're just gonna talk about the figure, more specifically the alt mode. But in order to do that, we gotta talk about some accessories. So he comes with some extra faces. We have a stoic face, a slight expression face, the opposite slight expression face, like almost like a talking face, and then a little happy face, and then an alternate IDW face. It's a little bit more stern, I suppose. All decoed the same way, which we will get to when we get to the figure. He also comes with a more IDW styled head sculpt, which I do love. It looks so sharp. So interesting. It's a big selling point for me, honestly. It's painted well, sculpted beautifully. I got a little green paint that got a little bit outside the lines. I'm going to see if I can't use one of Robert's spudgers and scratch some of it off. Yep, sure can. So never mind, disregard that criticism. Really, really, really good looking. He comes with a blaster of sorts, painted silver, like a gunmetal silver, and pretty decent sculpt on her as well. He can hold that with a peg into the palm of his hand. He also comes with this blaster, which I think is perhaps a bit more iconic, maybe. Nice sculpt work on it. We do have some paint this time with both the kind of beige and green. It's a darker green, but it still looks good. He can hold this one as well, but I have found that I have a harder time getting the peg to kind of fit in the palm of his hand with this one. We have two translucent blast effects. They're done well enough, you know, with the dark orange towards the bottom, and then it fades to a more opaque orange towards the tip. They can also be utilized on the kind of thrusters of the helicopter. I'm not sure why you would need the blades at this point, but it's the future, right? So, well, it's the past now, isn't it? But it was intended to be the future. They can be utilized for both blasters. He comes with his iconic sword. We have the light green paint down at the bottom, and then the silver blade at the top. All painted. The sword can obviously be split in half to form the top rotor of the helicopter, but it does have to go in a particular way. The bump out goes towards the back instead of it does take a little bit of effort to get it in there, so to speak. I can't get him to hold this properly, like it won't tab into his palm properly, but I can, you know, wrap his hands around it and get it to balance, so I guess it's fine regardless. He comes with that thing from that movie, the I got better things to do tonight than die thing. Once again, completely painted, the you know, the gunmetal-esque color with the gold accents on top. And he doesn't really hold it necessarily per se, but you can get him to kind of keep a hold of it in his hands with balance. He also comes with this spinning rotary effect, and I wish this was done differently. So as you can see, it comes with the middle piece here, and then it comes with this piece. They're kind of lock and key. You put them in and then slide them in. And then as you move along, there's male and female ends, and you just have to kind of continue to like get them sort of like drop them in, get them under, and then tab them in. And it's a lot of translucent plastic, and like this one goes in, but this one goes under, and this one goes in, like, you know what I mean? It's just like, it seems like they took the path of most resistance to kind of get this done, but once you get it all done, it looks like that. And that's nice enough, but I'll tell you, use extreme caution. This should have been better thought out, how they did this, because this feels like you're going to break a ton of stuff along the way. But I didn't with these mitts, with the amount of force that I usually put, so that should give you some sort of hope, I guess. He comes with a display base. You can have, there's 4 pegs, 4 slots, or holes rather. Once that's in, this is adjustable, but it is a tight little tolerance. As soon as you get it where you want, this is the piece that kind of folds in to lock, but I can't get mine to budge really. And then you have these 2 pieces on the side that will allow this to move. Once you have that sort of in place, if you put that back down, And once again, that tolerance is tight too, so I'm not going to push it, but that theoretically will lock as well. And then you have this section, which can move from side to side, and that too is tight, so I'm leaving that alone. But on Springer's pelvis, there is a compressible kind of switch, and you can insert that there and sort of have that look. Well, let me back out the camera, which is cool. You know, like it's a thoughtful accessory as it all works out, and it does kind of aesthetically pull it off. Gimmicks wise, there's some in vehicle mode that we will talk about, but just to get these out of the way, there are these two things that flip up on his forearms, you know, kind of that thing from that episode type of deal. So we'll start with car mode, and as you can see, maybe first and foremost, he does come with a Fans Toys QC Pass sticker, 01. I'm not sure if anybody else has anything else. Pardon my sniffling and stuff. I'm feeling under the weather. I got something going on. Don't have kids if you don't want to get sick, I guess. Anyway, that's not the only thing that it does like Fans Toys. It comes a bit mistransformed in the box like Fans Toys. In order to rectify that, you have to connect these two things here. I'm sure that was for an attempt to save paint from scratching. All right, come on now. Let's see if we can't sort this out and not embarrass me. There we go. And then the other thing that you want to do, sometimes this stuff all needs cleaning up, but the other thing that you want to do is spin these around. While we're on the topic of these bits here do flip up to reveal headlights, and they're actually battery operated, so you can slide those out and install batteries on them. Obviously, I don't keep that type of stuff around here. But if you do, you're welcome to slide them out, and they light up. How do they look? Probably like headlights lit up. Work it out. Close these up. The rest of it, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to talk about. Rolls like a champ. Does it look accurate? Dude, I don't know. I feel like Springer's vehicle is the one that looks the kind of most different throughout the show versus the movie, etc., etc. Like sometimes I feel like it looks more like this. Sometimes I feel like these are more round and bigger, and it kind of sits higher than this. You know, what do you want me to say? My thoughts on a lot of like the space age Transformer stuff is like, if it looks good enough and reminiscent enough for you, then just take it as a blessing and treat it appropriately. It is fully painted. We do have rubber wheels, and it does roll like a champ. It's heavy, it's compact, there's some accents along the way, and we have this bit that does open up to reveal 2 seats and 2 steering wheels inside for a little bit of extra pizzazz. Underneath, it's fairly clean. You know, I don't know. I think it does a good enough job, but I'm not the biggest stickler for this type of thing. For me, with these space age vehicles, like if it gets remotely close to the mark where I look at it and I'm like, that's the Springer vehicle, I'm kind of happy. So I would say that that's a success, because I'm pretty happy with how that looks. But I'm also happy with how it looks next to Tiger Tracks. Let's get her transformed. Jesus, take the wheel. All right, so we're gonna untab this side piece here. Bring it down, spin her around, flip it back so that it all lines up as kind of one thing to form the rear of the helicopter. We're going to do the same on this side. It's a little bit of an Henri connection. God bless, dude. Down, spin around, connect. All right, now we got to deal with these. So there's a green panel here that plugs into the side. You want to flip that up and make sure that this little piece here goes along with it that allows for clearance. Then we have this. Separate that a bit. Fold the wheel. I think it's just down. This out. This spins around and plugs back into the side. And then this flips out. Fold this up and this back. And then slide this back down, and let's see, is there anything to connect this? I don't know. I feel like that should be a little bit more secure, but let's continue. We're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to disconnect this green panel. We're going to make sure that little bit goes with it. We're going to fold the wheel in. We're going to fold this down. We're going to fold this around. the clowns from out of town. We're gonna flip this. Let's plug this in. I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure if this is aligned. Like if the slot is like exactly aligned with this. Fold that out, fold that in, keep that straight, and then slide that back. And there is like a little notch here on the side that will grab it. And actually, this will line up too a little bit if you have it right there. See how it sits into there? That's what I was missing. Now we got to get the tail together. So mine has already slid down from when I was trying to get the gray pieces untabbed, but it slides right here at the waist. Once you have that, if you spread the legs a bit, so to speak, you should be able to rotate at the thigh. And then straighten out your pieces here. There's little doors here at the bottom. Make sure that they are open. The next thing that you want to do is make sure, where are you? Let's see. There's a piece here that has to fit inside of that little notch. Same for this side. And that kind of keeps it all straight. And then on this side, there's these little like hooks that you just want to make sure are rotated up because they are going to grab on to there. Rotate these panels if need be. Some of this stuff starts to kind of come undone as you rotate. And I think we can close this up and this up. And then we should be able to start connecting this stuff. And you just want to line up, you know, the males and females and start plugging away. All right, now we have to get these hooks in. Bloody get our hooks in, you know what I mean? So we're basically using the waist articulation with the ab crunch to get this around and up and slid in all the while. There's one. And it's just a matter of making sure the right thing is under and the right thing is over. There's the other. So now you're kind of locked in place, and then we're gonna get these bits out by sliding them forward. I was trying to flip them before, that was part of my problem. What else? This flips open, and then this landing gear flips out and under to there. And then back here, these flip open, down, they flip around, the clowns from out of town, and then flip back. So, same thing on this side. Good night, that was challenging. And then flip around, and flip back. You'll probably have to re-secure all of this. And that's it. I'll get it cleaned up. We'll take a look at it. And of course, I forgot a step. So bring these wings down and flap them in. At least it's an easy step to forget, and nothing that had to kind of redo the whole transformation. But yeah, I mean, it spins. It doesn't spin great, probably because of the paint tolerance. That's not a huge deal for me. It does roll well enough on those little cheesy wheels, which once again, for me, is kind of fine. Same sort of stuff with the cockpit. Same sort of stuff with the paint. It's beautifully painted from top to bottom, pretty much. It is kind of held together on a, like, what do they call it? A wish and a prayer. Like, it's just these two hooks that are holding it all together. I wish it was a little bit more stable at the top and bottom, and the same sort of with these side pieces here. I wish it was all kind of more securely locked. Not that it's going anywhere, and not that it's a big deal, but if I was being critical and trying to look for something that could have been perhaps a little bit tighter, that is something that I would pick up on. Otherwise, no real complaints, and there it is next to Tiger Tracks. All right, to robot mode. We're gonna slide these back in, and we're going to tuck these wings away. And on the bottom, we're going to put our landing gear away. So you can open this chest part back up and flip that in. And you can spin these back and around and back, back and around and back. And then we're going to split our tail section open and undo our latches here and just sort of separate the two sections. Now remember this little section we have locked in there, that needs to come out, and then this folds down and this folds up. And let's see, I feel like there's something else maybe. Let's move the thigh back over. This spins around. I did that all sorts of complicated that I didn't need to, and I'll try to show you a better way on the other side. So at this point, flip down the feet and slide it in. This comes down and around, interlocks on the opposite side. And there's a series of tabs. Let me see if I can't get this. There we go. And then that comes up and tabs in. And this, I believe, spins in the opposite direction. All right, so let's see if I can't do the other side and make it a little cleaner. So we're gonna unlock that one section, spin this whole section around and that section around, which will allow you to spin the whole leg back around. Rotate the foot down, slide it towards the inside, fold this panel, and focus more so on the shin. And once you get the shin lined up, that will sit in that little pocket. Bring this up, tab it all in, and then rotate this piece up and around. And that's the legs, basically. Next thing we're gonna do is disconnect the backpack. So separate it from these arm sections or the shoulder sections. It's all connected in one piece. And then, God bless, it feels like you just, I don't know. It feels like you have to pull it out, like pull the plastic against itself to kind of get that loose. But it feels like a little bit of a softer plastic too, maybe, if I'm trying to be lenient. And that will allow these two sections to kind of open up. All right, so make sure you kind of have this backpack spread apart a bit. We're gonna take the yellow pieces and turn them back around like they were mistransformed in the box. We're gonna open this up and this up, swing this piece around, flip the yellow piece back in. We're kind of basically going back to car mode in that regard. Then we can flip this up and this up. And we're gonna flip the wheel to the inside. So same on this side. Flip this around. Be careful with this spinning this yellow piece because it's a tight little tolerance and you have a lot of leverage and torque. All right, and then this up, wheel to the inside we already did. Then you gotta slide these all the way in. So down, slide, and as you move towards the bottom, the whole piece can kind of rotate in. Down, 90 degrees, slide. All the way in. You know, just my slide on and up. It's electric. And then that comes down. I don't know why that bar is like so cattywampus. But there you go. That's what you're looking for. And you also want to make sure that this piece on the backpack, these little green nubs, are facing up. All right, unpeg the chest and get it up and out of the way. And then you got to get these arms out. And I have had a hell of a time. You can get your fingers around here to the back a little bit, but it doesn't feel great to do it. Just letting you know. Extend this, the bicep, and the elbow down. This will spin and rotate around and plug back in. On the back here, this piece is on a slider. If you bring it up, the notch goes in, and then you can drop it back down and make an attempt to plug it in. It's not the best connection in the world. So let's go ahead and do that for the other side. Ooh, look at that. I've not brought these pieces out. I've not done anything. I have not transformed. This is my first time. Look at that. Not great. So, up, out, and extend, drop down. If the hands were turned this way, just turn them back around and plug them in. And then on the back, you want to rotate up, clear that notch, rotate down, and plug in. All right, and now the chest. So we're going to bring this down. We're going to flip the head up and over. And then we're going to take these two kind of collarbone pieces and flip them out. Then there's this little panel here. And it's a bit of a pain to get to. But if you flip this piece down and then use it as leverage to get up, that should help. All right. Then bring the chest down. You want to kind of collapse this as you go. The collarbone pieces here need to go underneath the green flap that came out of his back. Oh boy. There. And it's these hinges. They need to go. God bless. They need to go around. So this like panel here, it needs to go up and around these hinges. And then down, and then this piece comes up over top. There. And there's this gap here on the side that I find pretty unsightly. All right. And then there's this. So make sure you're cleaned up here. You have these two tabs there. They're going to go into these two kind of locking clamps there. Once again, just finagle. There we go. And that's basically him. I will clean him up. We'll take a look at him. So let's go ahead and look at the figure. We'll get in tight on the head sculpt for Dennis. The head is on, so it pops out of this thing, right? I'm not going to do it because I don't want that thing to come undone. But it basically acts as a hinged swivel. So you can get up to there, which I think is decent. You can get down, you can get a swivel, and you can even get the swivel at an angle, which does kind of give it a bit of a confused Springer look, even though I don't think it's necessarily designed with that intention, which is nice enough. Fully painted, sculpted well enough. Let's move on, shall we? We'll back the camera out a little bit. Shoulders. You do get a butterfly joint, but you have to kind of start untransforming it to do so. So I'm not sure if that counts or not, but at the I don't think it counts technically, but for the sake of, oh Lord, now I'm not going to be able to get it back in there. Oh well, we'll move forward. With the sake, for the sake of talking about what you could do for like pictures and posing and what have you, I think it's worth mentioning. We have a universal for a shoulder. It's tensioned, it gets you out to the side 90 degrees, 360 around. Not a ratchet in sight either way, but it's tensioned nicely enough. Fully painted. It has the smaller elbow pads. Some people have wanted that, so it has those. We have a bicep swivel, a double jointed elbow that gets you the full run, a wrist swivel. The fingers are individually articulated with tension, unfortunately, at a base. Actually, I guess it's a pin at the bottom. Oh, no, they are pinned. Look at that. I withdraw my criticism. They are all pinned. So they operate differently than usual. There's like a base pin knuckle that like cuts halfway through the joint on both sides, but it's a primary knuckle, a secondary knuckle, and a tertiary knuckle, so fully articulated. And then the thumb is at a base ball peg to a secondary pin to a tertiary pin. So, extremely well articulated, fully functional, no issues there. We have a waist swivel, and we have a ab crunch that gets you pretty much all the way over. That is ratcheted, for what it's worth. All right. Let's get these arms up and out of the way, and we'll back the camera out just a little bit more. Hip skirts, they get up and out of the way. They grind a bit against each other in the front. We'll try not to hold that too much against them. And there are universals. They're ratcheted out to the side for the full Van Damme. You get forward and back for pretty close to the full Monty, a little bit shy, but more than you would ever need probably. Thigh swivels built around the universal. Bit of a gap where the sliding joint is. I had the same sort of issue with their Perceptor as well. Jansen, wasn't it Jansen? Was it Jansen? I think it was Jansen. Decent enough sculpt work on the side there. Fully painted and die cast. Knee. Soft ratchet single hinge knee. Gets you 90 degrees. A little bit of paint accents there. Otherwise, just a coating. Ankles. You get ankle tilt up, ankle tilt down, and a rocker. There is like a, let me show you something real quick. I do have a hard time getting him to have a center balance, like without bending him over slightly. And I'm wondering if that's because of the bottom of the feet. And the one thing that I wanted to try was to flip out the landing gear here, which I had a hell of a time with. See if this one goes any. There. I wanted to see if that would make a difference. No, it's not a tensioned enough joint. What if I spent it to the inside? No, that's not right. That's not gonna work. I don't know. What if I spent these? And put this down? Does that work? Well, that's unsightly if it rotates to the middle, but let's see if it gets underneath. It's too low. What about to the inside? Too far forward. So, yeah, I don't know. There's a little bit of just a standing issue. Now you can make it work by kind of bending. It's just a little weird that way. And I think that these ratchets in the middle here on his pelvis are a little too far apart also. So, like, I don't know. It doesn't help with the posing. And that's, I mean, that and then this, and maybe I don't have it right, but I got a gap that runs through the middle of the chest here. If I don't have it right, then forgive it. But it seems like even if I hold pressure against it, I'm still missing something. But that's a little off for me as well. Size comparison wise, there she is with the rest of the movie bots. He, and I think that he works just fine. I'm just not sure that he works all that much better than the other two options available. And when I say other two, I really mean like from the big three, right? MMC and Fans Toys. And it's just a bummer of sorts when you've gone through, you know, not wasted, but taken so much time to get something out, you know, because this was revealed years and years ago, and it just may not necessarily, you know, do what you intended it to do. It reminds me of people that they take a lot of time and write really long, hateful comments, and think that they've just done this tremendous job, and what they don't realize is how it ultimately goes. All right, let's have a look at today's comments. Click the first one here. Dear Bobby Stupid Bonehead Face, speaking of which, you wear a stupid mask, probably to hide a stupid face. I mean, you are without a doubt the biggest idiot that the world has ever seen. I watch other reviewers. They do such a better job than you at everything. Why don't you watch some of these other reviewers so you can do a good job at learning how to do reviews, you dumb, stupid reviewer not reviewing things properly. Your hands are so ugly, awkward, and good grief, this comment is long. Your hands are so ugly, big, clumsy, and awkward, they fumble through all of the transformations. Why don't you learn how to do it properly? And why don't you also put your fingers in a meat grinder so that your fingers can be smaller and they can work with the toys better? And you don't even appreciate when companies give us good things like Magic Square, you stupid Fans Toys shill. You just take Fans Toys money and do whatever they say, and you probably work for companies too. You should learn to be more objective like other reviewers. You don't do a good job of being objective. Why you put your family in this thing? No one cares about your family. Show me toy only. Show me toy. I love toys. Toys, only toys. Don't care about your opinion. Show me the toy, you stupid, dumb, ugly, big-handed face reviewer. I mean, it goes on and on. It's like 3 paragraphs. It probably took night and day to just conceptualize it and then to type it all out. Only took me 2 seconds though. And there he is next to the Fans Toys. We will be doing a versus of these, not this week, but maybe next week. That being said, I think this is far more tune accurate, and as a result, I think this looks far better. But I'm not going for super tune accurate, so I think that's largely what it's going to come down to with these. All right, let's have some final thoughts. I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100%, but I think 11. Final thoughts wise, we'll start with the negatives, and ironically, they're not necessarily what I'm used to. I think most of the negatives with this guy really come down to robot mode, unfortunately. There's that whole center balance thing that I hopefully illustrated well enough, and maybe there's something wrong with mine, but I can only speak to the one I have. There's also the gaps in the chest. Once again, maybe it's something wrong with mine, but I can only speak to the one I have, or if I did something wrong, and if I did, I apologize. And then there's the whole bit with the paint scratch on the shoulder pauldrons. Add on top of that, the ratchets in the hips, I believe to be a little too wide in the teeth, not to be confused with long in the teeth. And I wish the shoulders plugged in a little bit more securely. And those are my issues surrounding robot mode. I guess I would say, if I was to nitpick, some of the weapons don't fit as nicely in the hand as I would like. Transformation wise, does really well between vehicle modes, but as soon as we start getting into robot mode, some of that X-Transbot stuff starts rearing its ugly head. Namely, having to pull plastic against plastic. I don't care for it. There's also some weird tolerance in terms of really tight joints that have an awful lot of torque. The 2 yellow pieces that sit on the side of the wings, or the front of the wings rather, whatever those are, they're like the faux shoulders. That's one example. The feet are one example. There's just a number of places where that happens, and those are probably my biggest issues. Positives wise, the paint is spectacular. The sculpt is fantastic. It's not always effective, but it's fantastic. What I mean by that is in the chest, like where it has a gap, not as effective. Point still remains that the sculpt overall is fantastic. Paint, beautiful. Sucks about the scratch, but it is beautiful nonetheless. Pretty well articulated across the board. I wish there was a little bit more in the knees, but aside from that, nothing to complain about. Comes with a ton of accessories that all make sense for the character. I wish they did incorporate into vehicle mode a bit more, specifically the guns, and maybe I missed something. Has light up features, cartoon gimmicks, swappable IDW head, the materials feel good, and the transformation from car to helicopter is fantastic. So I can recommend this overall, and I think for a like pose and step away piece, you can get a really accurate G1 cartoon representation. But in terms of where I feel this fits in regard to this and Fans Toys and MMC, which is what I would consider the big 3, I guess you could say I'd put it in the top 3, if that makes sense. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.